Hi, this is Mr. Evans. This video is going to have a look at the objectives of different stakeholders and try and bring out the impact and influence that different stakeholder groups have on a business. So the first stakeholder group to look at listed in the specification is owners. And of course, owners include the shareholders of public and private limited companies. So owners and shareholders, we can consider them as one stakeholder group here. So what do the owners and shareholders want from a business? Well, obviously that's going to vary from business to business. The owners, we can define them as people who have invested their money as capital to the business. They're going to vary, there's a huge variety of different objectives that a business owner would have. So that might include maximising their returns from the organisation and maximising their dividend payments. In other words, getting as much money out of the business as possible. Some owners will simply want for their business to survive. Some owners might want to provide jobs as a result of their business for themselves, possibly other people within the local community, or they might aim to achieve social and ethical goals. So there's a huge range of different objectives that business owners might have, and it's important that you understand those objectives. So what impact and influence might owners, shareholders have on a business? Well, they invest the owner's capital, share capital. The more money that they invest, the more money that the business has to achieve its goals. They might be involved in the day-to-day running of the organisation in some cases. Okay, so particularly in small businesses, the owners will be involved in the day-to-day running of the business. They're going to have a say in setting the organisational objectives, and they might be involved in strategic planning. The bigger an organisation gets, the less likely it is that its owners are directly involved in the day-to-day organisation. So, for example, a company like Tesco that sells its shares on the stock market to everyone, and technically anybody who's over 18 who can buy shares could be an owner of Tesco. Well, obviously, those people aren't all going to be involved in the day-to-day running of the business. But all shareholders of large companies do have a say in how the business is run at the company's annual general meeting. But generally, owners are going to have some influence on the business because they put their money into the organisation, and they have a say in how the organisation is run, including whether or not to take out some money as profits, which I've got written there. So employees, these are the people who exchange their labour in return for a wage or a salary. So they're the people basically who run the organisation day to day. It's worth noting, of course, that a not-for-profit organisation may utilise the labour of volunteers who are not monetarily rewarded. But if we're talking about a standard business, most employees are going to be working for a wage or a salary. And what do these workers want? Well, they might want to maximise their wage or salary. They might want to receive some personal training and development so that they get better. They may wish to be promoted or empowered so they get to make some decisions. Or they might want to achieve some social or ethical goals through their career. For example, I was very dissatisfied when I worked in an insurance office. I didn't feel that I was particularly achieving anything useful in the world, and I went into teaching as a result. I earned less money. I wouldn't work for free, that's for sure, but to me, I preferred teaching to working in an office, as I wanted to not just get enough money to get by, but also achieve social and ethical goals. So what impact influence can employees have? Well, they're involved in the day-to-day running of the business. They basically, they're in charge of making sure the business is operational and can achieve its targets. They're going to often be involved in strategic planning and assessment. In other words, looking at the organisation's objectives, it's going to be the employees' jobs to decide often how best to achieve those goals. They directly interact with the organisation's customers and therefore have a big impact on customers as a stakeholder group. And ultimately, employees may withdraw their labour if they're dissatisfied. In other words, they might leave the organisation, or they could even go on strike, things like that. And it's worth just pointing out that highly skilled employees tend to have more say, more power in impacting and influencing an organisation than less skilled ones. Well, that's because less skilled workers are easier to replace. If cleaners are extremely important, but it's not a massively highly skilled job. If a cleaner starts saying, "Well, I'm not happy with this, I'm going to go on strike," then maybe the organisation can say, "Well, fine, we'll just replace you." Whereas if it's a highly skilled employee who doesn't have talents that can be easily replaced, well, they might be able to have more say on the organisation. In terms of customers, these are the people who purchase an organisation's products, usually in exchange for some sort of payment, and the customer's objectives would include receiving value for money, getting a quality product, benefiting from the prestige, the brand image, the prestige of driving around a Aston Martin or whatever it is, or they might simply wish to support an organisation. Many customers might choose to pay a little bit more for a product that's produced using fair trade ingredients, for example, because they are keen on supporting that particular cause. So, how can customers impact, influence an organisation? Well, obviously they purchase the product. That it provides the business with its revenue. That business ultimately needs revenue in order to survive. And so customers can have a huge impact on a product, on an organisation. They can leave reviews, either positive or negative, particularly with the growth in the internet, where people can go on forums and so on and leave reviews. Customers can participate in market research and try and give some feedback to an organisation. They can provide word of mouth endorsements, whereby they are telling their friends about an organisation. All right, so customers have huge impact on an organisation. They're a very important stakeholder. The local community. Okay, so this is an area that students often get confused about. The local community are the people who live in the vicinity of the area in which the business operates, and the business is going to have some impact on their home life. So, for example, near my flat there's a pub. I very rarely go to that pub or visit it. Nevertheless, so I'm not really a customer of that pub. I've not been there for a good couple of years, but it's still a pub that's near my flat. I'm part of the local community. That's the stakeholder that I am. I'm not a customer. I'm part of the local community. Just because you live in the area of a business and you're affected by that business because it does like late night deliveries or something and keeps you awake, that doesn't mean you're a customer. It means you're in the local community. So what objectives would what objectives would the local community have for a business? Well, they'd want to minimise its impact on the local environment. They don't want air pollution, noise pollution, etc. They may wish for the organisation to provide jobs for local people so that the business is creating wealth in the area. It might want to increase consumer choice. Even if I don't go to that pub, I might appreciate the fact that it's there, and I could, if I wanted. It's part of a range of options that I've got for, say, eating out. And obviously, I might want businesses in my local area to improve the local community in some way, maybe donating to local charities or helping with community products like building playgrounds for children, etc. So what impact can the local community have on a business? Well, directly communicating with the owners. They could use the media or social media if they're unhappy about something, writing to the local paper if they're concerned about the amount of pollution from a business, for example. They could protest, or they could lobby MPs, whereby they go to members of parliament and talk to local members of parliament about what's happening in an organisation. So the local community can have an impact on a business, even if they don't shop there, even if they don't go to that business day to day, even if they're not customers. The local community still has an impact on that business, just as the business has an impact on them. And of course, the local community often provide the labour for an organisation, whereby some people in the local community might work for that business. Final stakeholder listed in the specification that you need to know about is suppliers. They are organisations that provide the business with an input to their production process, maybe raw materials, maybe stock, maybe machinery. Suppliers will have objectives such as surviving, increasing their sales to an organisation, and making sure that they've got sufficient cash flow to pay their debts. So suppliers are another business. The bigger our business grows, the more our suppliers are likely to grow, because we'll be ordering supplies off them as we increase in size. So how can they affect a business? Well, they might be able to offer me reductions on what I'm buying. They might be able to offer me bulk discounts the more I purchase. So that would have an impact on the costs of my organisation. They may, the extent to which they're reliable has an effect on me. Can I rely on my suppliers to deliver, within 24 hours, within a few hours of me ordering, or do I have to wait a week, or even a couple of weeks for my suppliers to respond to my requests? That has an impact on my business. The quality of the raw materials they supply, that's going to have an impact on my business. If I'm trying to run just-in-time production, which is covered in the operations unit, it's very, very important that I've got an excellent relation with my supplier, because just-in-time production means that I keep a very small amount of stock on site, and I need my suppliers I need to have excellent communication with them, because otherwise, if I don't, I won't be able to produce goods and services. So suppliers also have a huge impact on businesses.